Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. And the organizers asked me to talk about science and technology cooperation between Italy and Korea. Of course, I'm honored to do this, and it's a pleasure because, well, first of all, because I'm the science counselor at the Embassy of Italy, but also really because Italy and Korea may be far, as we heard several times today, but, as again we heard many times, we share many, many values. And certainly the passion for science is one of these values. So this makes this talk very easy. And let me elaborate a little bit on this. The love for science here in Korea is ubiquitous. You see it every day, you see it everywhere, and it has been the commitment that Korea had to science and innovation has been really an integral part of its fantastic economic growth. So I took this slide, this plot from an article of the journal Nature in 2023, which shows as a time sequence, and you see in the lower axis there is time, it sees the percentage of the GDP, the gross domestic product, that Korea and other countries are investing in research and developments. And as you can see, the numbers speak for themselves. Korea invests about 5% of the GDP, of its GDP, in R&D, in research and development, and this makes it the second highest percentage in the world. Okay, so this by itself is a number that we can always keep in mind, and it makes my job easy and a pleasure to do. You see also the European Union average, which of course is much lower. It's about 2%, rather stable actually. And so also the Italian one, of course, is much lower than the Korean one. But in Italy, of course, we have a long and successful, I should stress, successful scientific tradition. It stems from scientists like Galileo, that was one of the fathers of astronomy, actually one of the fathers of science, I would say, of modern science. Here there is also Enrico Fermi, Nobel Prize physicist. He made a million things, but he's very famous because he, among other things, he made the first nuclear reactor in 1942, so really a long time ago. And I couldn't not put the latest Nobel Prize that we have in physics in 2021, Giorgio Parisi. I like this picture. He's smiling there very much, maybe because in the picture before there is Fermi that has a wrong, yeah, I have to go ahead. Yeah, Fermi has the wrong equation above his head, and he certainly knew that because he made that equation. So it's probably an inside joke that Fermi played on the journalist that day. And you might have the suspicion that I am a physicist here because all these are physicists. In fact, yes, I am, and I will be balanced now. I have to move to other topics. Here is, of course, Rita Levi-Montalcini. She's Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. You know, Italy had a lot of Nobel Prizes in medicine. We had also the inventor of the first commercial microprocessor in 1971, Federico Faggin. That is what you see there is really the first microprocessor made by Intel, the 4004, the first commercial microprocessor of Intel. It was designed by him, by Federico Faggin. And of course, I could not avoid mentioning Fabiola Gianotti. She's the current and the first woman Director General of CERN, which is the largest particle physics lab in the world. So overall, Italy received 21 Nobel Prizes, 14 of which are in science, and 2 Fields Medals that you know are the Nobel Prizes for mathematics. All of this makes it, as I said, ideal. I mean, this love for science that we have between in both of our countries makes us ideal partners for cooperation, for scientific cooperation. And as I have only 10 minutes, I would like to show you only one agreement that was signed, and I think is very important. It was signed here in Seoul a year ago on the occasion of the visit of the Italian President Sergio Mattarella to Korea. And it was signed between the IBS, the Korean IBS, the Institute for Basic Science, and the Italian National Institute for Nuclear Physics. The 2 presidents joined that day and signed this important agreement on basic science. Another field that has already been mentioned by Professor Dr. Oh, the previous speaker a moment ago, is indeed space. The field of space is developing very much, and the collaboration in space between Italy and Korea is becoming more and more important. Italy, again, has a long tradition because it was in 1964, Italy launched in space its first satellite, and that made Italy the 3rd nation in the world to launch its own satellite. And actually, I'm very thankful to Andrea Gianfermo, who is our space advisor here, because just a few days ago, he found this postcard. And this is really the postcard of that day. You can see the date, December 15, 1964. The postcard that celebrates the launch of the satellite by the Italian-made satellite, which, as I said, made Italy the third country to launch its own spacecraft in space. But of course, since then we did many things. For example, we built half of the International Space Station, half of the habitable volume of the International Space Station that was made in Italy. And there is actually a second point that I was forbidden to write down by my younger collaborator, and so I had to put this symbol, because otherwise it brings bad luck. Tomorrow we have the launch by an Italian rocket. Vega C is launching an Italian satellite, and as it is tomorrow and not today, I could not write it down, otherwise it brings very bad luck. But we hope everything will go fine. This is certainly not the first launch by the Italian rocket. We had very many, but it's always, of course, a very delicate business. Sorry? Yeah, finger crossed, exactly. I put the hand, the face, but it's really finger crossed. And of course, the Korean space program is much younger, but it's extremely, not just very, it's extremely ambitious. I mean, Korea wants to land on the moon in 2032 and on Mars by 2045. So this is fantastic, and this makes this moment really the best moment for collaboration in space science and industry right now. And in fact, that's what we did exactly a year ago, once again, when we signed a memorandum of understanding, again on the occasion of the state visit of President Mattarella, between the Italian Space Agency and, well, at the time there was no CASA yet, there was not yet the Korean Aerospace Administration, so the agreement was signed between ASI, the Italian Space Agency, with the Minister of the Ministry of Science and ICT, the MSIT. But now this agreement is being transferred to CASA. Let me have few more minutes, I think. Oh, fantastic. 2 slides, 2 more minutes. So I will just tell you just a few more details about the latest updates on the collaboration. At government level, the collaboration between Italy and Korea is long-standing. It started almost 20 years ago with the establishment of an agreement on science and technology cooperation that was signed in Rome in 2007. It includes several executive programs, bilateral forums, and joint labs. But then we also have more than 100, actually, MOUs between single Korean and Italian universities and research institutes. For example, HAFS has a few with the University of Torino, actually, since 2012, I checked yesterday. I just want to mention one of the latest ones that was signed recently, last September, between, again, the Korean IBS and the University of Torino, to cooperate on fundamental research and education. They agreed on they had a large agreement on cooperation with a large number of fellowship for PhD students in the field of chemistry, math, neuroscience, and physics. This was the first time that such a large agreement was signed, and I think it's a great example for many other institutes that want to follow this example. This is my last slide. Let me just mention the current program, the current executive program for scientific cooperation that we have, the 2023-2025. It runs for 3 years. It is between the Korean MSIT, the Ministry of Science and ICT, and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The current plan, the current program, funded 8 projects. You see here the topics. You have advanced materials, agri-food, biomed, environmental sciences, physics, astrophysics, prevention of natural disasters, and science and technology applied to cultural heritage. We will have soon the new one that will run from 2026 to 2028, again for 3 years, and it will we will present it very soon. In fact, we think at the very beginning of 2025 or next year. So please stay tuned. We look forward to many of your applications. Thanks.